Hello everybody, happy Wednesday. Today's video is not technically social media marketing related, but it does relate to business and I guess, anyone who works or has an email address, this applies to you. So I want to talk a little bit about how much time you spend in your email or how much time you waste in your email. This is it's easier now that I'm self-employed, but it's something that used to just absolutely tank my time when I was employed in previous roles, marketing and otherwise. So anywhere where you have a company email that you're expected to access from your computer or maybe even your phone after hours, it's just a huge source of wasted time, stress. It leads to you not being productive. And I started to do a little bit of research and figure out how we could cut down our own time on emails, myself and my team included. And I came across some really interesting articles. And I have a little time study freebie download for everybody that I'll link below. But here's some interesting data. This is, I think, from 2017. So I'm sure it has changed since then, but it's Canadian data. So I wanted to share it. So the average person is spending 11.7 hours on email a week and 5.3 hours at home. So this 5.3 hours, yeah, it could be some personal stuff you're sending, but a lot of us are sending work emails after hours, which is interesting. You don't have to do that, but maybe that's the expectation. And this is based on an average work week of 47.2 hours. So it's a little skewed. I don't know why it wouldn't be based on a typical 40-hour work week, but whatever. After looking over the results, the researchers found that workers send an average of 86 work-related emails at home, work-related emails at work and 25 from home. It actually doesn't clarify if this is per week or per day. I feel like this would, I don't know, maybe this is per week for some, but for us, that's definitely like way more than that per day. So depends on what the nature of your job is, how much email you're going to send and receive, but we're going to share some tips on how to actually cut that down, become more productive. It does go a little further. Maybe I'll link this article in the freebie as a source if you're interested in reading, but it actually talks about the emotional stress and anxiety that's triggered from this constant being bombarded with email. I think my opinion is we are bombarded with just so many different ways for people to communicate with us, right? They can send you a message on Facebook or Instagram, email you, text you, call you. It used to be either email or they just have to pick up the phone and call your office. And I think, I'm not saying jobs weren't stressful then, but I think having to feel so connected all the time is so ingrained in how we are now that is really contributing to a lot of the stress that we all feel, self-employed or not. So anyways, really interesting, the number of emails sent. So here's an interesting stat that say the average office worker receives 121 emails per day, with 50% of that being spam. So we're going to give you some tips on that as well. 121, yeah, that does seem like a legitimate average. In a previous role, I was receiving anywhere from 250 to 300 emails a day. Not 50% spam, maybe 10% spam. So you could imagine, an 8-hour day would turn into 10 hours, and most of that time was literally just spent replying to emails and sending people things they needed. So not productive. But anyways, so I'm going to show you what this little email time study is and if you want one, just comment below, say I'd like a copy, and we will send you a copy of this document for yourself. So here's the link to that data source. And here's kind of what you can do. So it's essentially a time study of how much time you're spending on email. It's pretty straightforward. You're going to just drop in the date, how many hours or minutes you've spent replying to and composing email. Easiest way to do that, find out your time spent. Obviously, just use a timer on your phone, hit start stop when you're in there. Write down the total number of emails received, the total number of emails sent, and the total number of spam or marketing emails received. And do yourself a favor, and as they come in, right, look, it's all spam, make it stop. So as I get these and I don't want them anymore, I just go find their unsubscribe link and I unsubscribe. Because why? If I'm not interested in reading it, I don't need your stuff. So you're going to do the time study, and then here's some helpful hints at the bottom. So true story, in a previous position I had, I Googled how to get less email because I was that overwhelmed with the amount of email. And the first answer article I read said, send less email, which seems Pretty hilarious, but true. Think about it. Like if you send, sorry, dismiss all these reminders from my email that are coming through. Yeah. So if you send less email, you're going to get less in return. Pretty straightforward, so just keep that in mind. The second one, be direct and set clear expectations for people who need to reply. So how often do you send an email and maybe you include 3 questions and you get a reply and the answer 1? And you're like, okay, now I have to reply again. Can you please answer like, it happens all the time. People are so overwhelmed, and so I don't even think it's laziness. I think people are so busy that they just like respond as quickly as they can, and they don't actually read your email in detail. So give them really specific instructions that are just really easily understood. Something like this: hi, so-and-so, below are 5 questions I need answered by, right? You would insert a date or a time. Can you please reply with all of the answers by whatever, thanks. Sometimes I even go so far as to put a little table like this into the email, and I'll have a column: question, answer, and the answer is blank. And I say, can you please use the table below to answer my questions? Then I typically get everything back that I need. Not all the time, but most of the time. The third one is something that we do. I need to get back to it because I haven't been doing it the last few months, and that's why I'm doing this video, because I'm so overwhelmed with email again. So try setting email time blocks. So I'm sure you're familiar with setting time blocks in other areas of your job or your business, but this works for email as well. So I've told the team specifically, myself and the girls that work with me, we have 3 time blocks that we use. So between 9 and 9:15, 12 and 12:15, and 4 and 4:15. So we log in at 9, we skim everything, unsubscribe from stuff if we have to, delete whatever, and we're left with a number of emails to reply to, and you take 15 minutes to fire off a reply to whatever you need. Even if you don't have enough time to physically, if, say for us, if someone emails us, hey, I need a business card designed. Okay, I can't design that in 15 minutes and reply to my other emails, but I will reply to them and say, hey, no problem, got it. I'm going to send it to you by XYZ date and time. And then I drag that email into our to-do folder. So my inbox is clear. I've responded to it, but it's in another folder, so I know that I have to do something. There's a task related to it. So we do that 3 times a day, and then you can see you're spending 45 minutes a day in email compared to, 5-6 hours that some of us are spending. And these times, we've spread them out this way so that the 9 o'clock time slot, we're catching everything that might have come in, after hours or the night before. The 12 is catching anything that someone has sent us at the beginning of their day. We have a lot of Eastern Canada clients, so we try and do most of our replying in the morning if we can, because it's already later for them. And then the 4 to 4:15, we're catching stuff that kind of comes in later. The 4th tip, set expectations for how long it takes you to respond to emails received. This is key as well. So I guess, like I was saying, with us being so connected all the time with our devices and our social, people expect that they send an email and they're going to get a reply almost instantly, which is, maybe that's possible for you if you are full-time employed and your job involves you sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours at a time. But that's not reality for a lot of us, even small, especially small business owners, right? We are doing all the things, we're wearing all the hats. So we're doing the accounting, we're doing our marketing, we're coming up with new programs. So email might be the last thing on the list. So set expectations up front. If you're an employee, ask your employer, right? How long do I have to reply to emails? That's important. For us, as an example, our agreements state that we do respond to all emails within 4 business hours. But that doesn't have to be your service level agreement. You can have, a 48-hour window, which is standard. And the last tip is stop replying to emails at strange hours at night. And I'm very guilty of this. So anyone that works with us knows if you email me at midnight, you might just get a reply at 2 or 3 in the morning because I work later when my kids are sleeping. Hopefully that's not always the case, but that's reality for me right now. But when we do this, we are setting the expectation for the person on the other end that we are going to reply at those times. And sometimes we don't, right? So a little way that you can kind of cheat the system, if you have Outlook, for example, I'll log in and show you. People probably already know this, but let's say I'm sending an email to Hallie on my team. 1, 2, 3, go do this. Test. Okay, instead of just hitting send, I can click the little arrow beside it, send later, and I can say, send this tomorrow at 9 a.m. or whatever that is. So if you're working at 2 or 3 in the morning or outside of your business hours, you can use this feature so that your kind of person on the other end is receiving it during your regular business hours. Okay, so those are tips. And then other things to consider, these are just kind of food for thought. Can you pay someone else or outsource handling your email? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But if it's really holding you up from being productive, you might want to consider that. Can you make use of Outlook email rules to filter certain emails into folders? So as another example, over here you'll see like a folder for HARO. This is an example. So HARO is help a reporter out, is how we get PR. Maybe we'll do an email or a video on that next. So I don't necessarily want these to hit my inbox all the time. I'd rather they just go into a folder for HARO because I'm just going to browse these once every day or two, right? So that's kind of how we handle that. So maybe you can make use of folders. Do you need to create an email policy for your team or employees? Maybe, maybe not. I think it's best practice, but that's up to you. And the last one, do you want to set up an automated reply to each email that says you've received it and you will reply within a certain amount of time? We don't do this, but it's something that we've considered, having just an automated reply that everybody gets when they email us that just says, hey, we're on it. You should expect to hear from us by whatever. And then at least that person knows, okay, the email went through and they're going to get to it. Because, the last thing that you want is someone sending you something and then the next day, like, hey, did you get this? Like, we haven't had a reply from you, right? It's just because the expectation wasn't set. So that's that for today's little video. I'm really interested to see how much time everybody spends on email, and hopefully this will help you be more productive. Again, comment below if you want this template. We will send it to you. Awesome. Thanks. Have a good day, everyone.